Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 10.
It may not be a shocker with what's been happening in recent days in the college sports world, but certainly a disappointing announcement for North Dakota State football fans as the season opener at Oregon has been canceled.
Valley News Live sports director Beth Houle joins us early with the details. Beth?
The Bison and the Ducks are canceled as the Pac-12 announces a conference-only schedule for football this fall, citing COVID-19 precautions. The announcement comes just a day after the Big Ten announced the same move. NDSU football was set to open the season on September 5th in Eugene, Oregon. And talking with NDSU Director of Athletics Matt Larson tonight, he says he spoke with the Oregon AD about 45 minutes before the Pac-12 announcement, and they hope to find a time to reschedule this matchup in the near future. In the meantime, Larson says the Bison will be looking to fill that September 5th spot and carry a full 11 games this fall.
Our plan all along, until somebody tells us that we can, is that we want to play a full slate of games. That's 11 regular season games. And so, I think we've seen in the last couple of days between the Big Ten's announcement, the Pac-12 announcement, that there's a lot of teams that are without games right now. So I think there's some opportunity.
Larson says he feels for Bison Nation, for the athletes, and that he's hopeful they have the chance to give them something to cheer about this fall, something to come together around. Later in sports, we'll have more from Larson, including the plan for the rest of the NDSU schedule this fall.
All right, thanks so much, Beth. As parents wait to find out how school will look in the fall, one of the challenges for all involved is how to get their children there in a safe manner.
Valley News Team's Alexandra Kay spoke with some local families who say if schools open, buses should be ready to go too.
11-year-old Colson McCarty is eager to get back to school, and riding the bus is part of that excitement.
I really like the school bus, and I hope I can ride it next year.
Colson's mom, Amanda McCarty, says that her work schedule relies on knowing her son's school schedule.
If they're going to make them go back to school, then they need to have the buses running too, because a lot of us parents have to go back to work.
Fargo Public Schools has yet to reveal their full plans for the fall. They sent a survey to parents asking for input. One question they posed was about transportation to and from school, asking parents if they would be able to provide a ride for their children, given how social distancing might be difficult on a school bus. For many in the Valley, that answer is no.
I live out in the country, so I would not have no transportation to get them to school and from school. I mean, there's some that can get to school and there's some that can't.
My kids, they need the bus. That's how they're going to get to and from school. And I don't really know what to do if we don't have the buses.
As Colson waits to find out if he'll get to ride the bus in the fall, he says he has a plan for how to stay germ-free.
I would not touch the windows.
With parents adding they would like the buses to be disinfected regularly, with sanitizer available for the kids. In Fargo, Alexandra Kay, Valley News Live.
Fargo Public Schools says they're currently seeking staff and parent feedback through that survey, which will help in creating their re-entry plan, along with guidance from Governor Doug Burgum, which is expected next week.
Hundreds gathered tonight to remember a young man killed in Colorado last year. One Fargo organized this vigil at Island Park in memory of 23-year-old Elijah McClain. The group explained that this was not a march, not a protest, but a peaceful get-together to honor McClain.
So this was not something where they were seeking a token or, just looking for a photo op. These were people that were genuinely looking to be a part of this. They were honored to be a part of this, to do this for Elijah today.
McClain was walking home and unarmed when he was encountered by police last August and was put in a chokehold. He had a heart attack and died 6 days later. The officers involved were not arrested or charged.
After being pushed for weeks by organizers, Fargo City leaders have sent their investigation of a former deputy police chief to the North Dakota Attorney General. The AG's office tells us an agent is reviewing Todd Osmundson's case. The groups One Fargo and the local Black Lives Matter chapter have long been calling for an independent review. Osmundson resigned June 4th after being suspended for going undercover without permission in downtown Fargo during the May 30th riot. Last week, Fargo Police Chief David Todd stated he would not pursue charges against Osmundson. U.S. Attorney Drew Wrigley says his office has multiple ongoing investigations into the events of that day. One man is already facing federal charges. The investigation continues into accusations of misconduct on the part of Fargo police. Police say investigators with the Office of Professional Standards interviewed 19-year-old Larry Pope at his home yesterday about his complaint. Pope has accused 2 Fargo police officers of racial profiling and performing an illegal search on June 22nd. Police said they will release the findings once the investigation is done. If you have information about the alleged misconduct, call Fargo Police Sergeant Shane Aberly at 476-4189.
84 more cases of COVID-19 have been confirmed in North Dakota. It brings the number of active cases to 573. There have been no more deaths attributed to the illness, meaning the death toll still stands at 85. 33 patients are currently being hospitalized, while nearly 3,500 are listed as recovered. Meanwhile, in Minnesota, that state is reporting 609 new COVID-19 cases today, bringing the active case count to 3,830. 5 new deaths have also been reported. That brings the death toll to 1,495. 35,442 Minnesotans are listed as being recovered.
New guidance has been released for long-term care facilities during the pandemic in Minnesota. It would allow access for designated family members and other people deemed as essential caregivers. The move loosens safety and visitation restrictions for long-term care facilities, which have been in place since mid-March. The State Department of Health says an essential caregiver could be a family member, outside caregiver, friend, or volunteer who has provided regular care and support during and before the pandemic.
Although second quarter taxable sales and purchases have not been released yet, North Dakota's tax commissioner, Ryan Rauschenberger, says he thinks that they will be fairly positive despite the pandemic. The tax commissioner said in April, sales tax collections decreased by 35% of what was forecasted. But May's early indicators show that spending rebounded better than they expected. Rauschenberger says the big question is, will oil be able to rebound at the same rate?
Will wells come back online? Will rigs start operating again? And what will happen with oil long term? Because we are so, we rely so heavily on oil tax.
Rauschenberger says the state's specialty funds, like the Legacy Fund and the Common Schools Trust Fund, rely on oil taxes, and there's some concern on how those will be impacted. The tax commissioner thinks the state is going to see a slower rebound in oil tax collections until things return to normal.
Now that a U.S. District Court judge has ordered the Dakota Access Pipeline to be shut down, industry and state leaders are worried about what's next. Could more rulings like these scare away future investments in state infrastructure? Reporter Jacob Notterman has our story.
During a media briefing, the governor voiced his concern and frustration over what rulings like these can do to North Dakota's economy. He, like many others, say there needs to be improvement to infrastructure, but decisions like these make that more difficult. Governor Burgum made his frustrations clear regarding the recent federal ruling to shut down the Dakota Access Pipeline.
He's saying that the Army Corps of Engineers didn't do their job permitting. Who's ever said it was easy to get a permit from the Army Corps of Engineers? I mean, this is an organization that's known for being incredibly rigorous in how they do their permitting process.
But that's not what U.S. District Court Judge James Boasberg said, who pulled back the permits after ruling the Army Corps didn't do sufficient reporting on the environmental impacts of the pipeline. The ruling came just 1 week after oil hit $40 a barrel for the first time since March. Industry leaders say the decision comes at a terrible time.
We need projects like the Dakota Access because over the next 30 years, we're going to continue to use oil and natural gas, not just in this country, but around the world.
Things seem to be looking optimistic for North Dakota's oil industry. There were even talks of crews going back to work, but now the pipeline has 30 days to empty, and with it, momentum for future investments.
So the rug gets pulled out of the whole project, it sets a bad precedent for other projects. So we see, the same thing going on in legal challenges on the nationwide Permit 12 and its impact specifically on Keystone, but on other pipelines.
Energy Transfer had an emergency appeal and a motion for stay rejected by the courts just this week. However, the company has vowed to continue to appeal the decision.
In a request for a stay in the ruling, Energy Transfer argued that it's impossible to completely empty the pipeline in 30 days, adding that the entire process will take between 86 and 101 days and cost the company $24 million, most of it within the first 14